Morning all, and thank you for joining this webinar. Today we will cover the topic of process digital twin for pharma. We have two presenters, Mr. Niels Thompson from Atos and Mr. Patrick Bossert from Siemens, who will talk to you about this innovative solution. The presentation will last 20 minutes, and at the end of the presentation we have 10 minutes allocated for answering your questions. So please do use Q&A chat box to post your questions, and we will answer them at the end of this session. And if you run out of time, we will get back to you via email after the event. So without hesitation, I would like to pass the microphone now to Mr. Niels Thompson. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dimitri, and good morning to everyone. I'm happy to welcome you to this session here, where we are going to talk about the digital twin that we created for pharma and vaccine production. As Dimitri said, my name is Niels Thompson. I'm globally responsible for IoT and analytics AI within Atos. And together with me on stage, I have a good friend, colleague, I would say, and a partner from Siemens, who was also a huge contributor to the project. Patrick, very much welcome. Maybe a few words around yourself.
Good morning or good evening to all of you. My name is Patrick Bossert. I'm responsible for digitalization and QBD within the Siemens Pharma headquarters, and I'm happy to participate to the invitation of Niels to present you this use case.
Thank you very much, Patrick. Nice to see you again, and I hope you're safe and sound in Belgium. Today, we're going to talk to you a little bit about the digital twin that we created. But just let's go a couple of steps back. The challenge that we saw and the challenge that we received from the client that we work with here, a big leading producer within vaccines globally, was a dual challenge. One was around to ensure that we decrease the time for R&D, but the other part of the challenge was also at the same time to help on the efficiency and the inconsistency in the quality on the production. They experienced that it took a long time to see if the chemical compounds of the vaccines actually mix in the right way, which was leading to loss in very expensive raw material, among others. So this was a dual challenge that we were looked at and that we were presented with. Now, how to solve that? We realized that we needed to solve it in a totally new and different way. So we needed to have more knowledge that we could, from Atos, contribute with our own. So we looked at the customer to help us to provide domain know-how on their own products and on their processes. But we also needed to get the right domain know-how on the shop floor and the solutions that are used there. And here we reach out to our good partner Siemens, to Patrick, to work with them and to find the solution of the dual challenge. So really by combining the power of three powerhouses, we believe we were able to move forward and solve the challenge with Atos providing the IoT analytics know-how on top of the domain know-how provided by, on the one side, the customer and the other side, Siemens. Now, what is it that we actually did? Let's start with the actual physical process and we did there. So here we looked at the part of the process where we really combine the different chemical fluids. So this is a very critical moment of the production process where the fluids mix to create basically a part of the vaccine. Here, we were then monitoring how the different chemical components meet each other. So you can mathematically, of course, calculate how that should look like in the perfect scenario. This is how you combine and can calculate how the difficult molecules needs to look like afterwards. So here we could actually create a mathematical and thereby a digital twin of the perfect outcome. Now, we then could start by using Siemens equipment, and Patrick will come back to that. We could then start to measure how it actually went, which was meaning that we could then look at, do we need to change the temperature? Did we need to change the pressure? Did we need to change the speed of the different fluids when they mixed to ensure that they stay within the thresholds that they needed to stay within to create the outcome that we desired? Now, we developed the digital twin to actually do that, and we developed the solution that then automatically can change the different KPIs like pressure and temperature, as I said. But we could also do it in a manual way, meaning that we would highlight to the operators that it needed to do something, and they thereby can go in and change the part that we recommend to change. So hereby, we impacted the first part of the challenge, the actual production process, reducing, for example, waste and also the usage of extremely important raw materials. Now, we then took that and started to look into how to move that into R&D and to close the feedback loop. But maybe, Patrick, you will help us out a little bit here and tell us how we moved from the production process and the findings here and into then move it into R&D and closing the feedback loop.
Thank you, Niels. Yes, I'm happy to give you some more in-depth explanation. So first of all, to tackle this topic, we are working in R&D environment where the optimal goal was to really define a digital process twin, not just a digital twin, but a real digital process twin, in order to be able to mimic as much as possible the experiments that normally we do in a physical way. We want to replace that by more virtual experiments. So what you see here is a kind of high-level representation of the concept where you have on the left side the physical process, on the right side the virtual process. Now, in the physical process, which is the physical plant, the real plant, as you know it today, you will see there most of all classical automation. We have integrated in this case also two PAT analyzers, a near infrared and then dynamic light scattering, which have their reason for existence in this process, and embedded also simulation software. So that is what we see today on the physical process in a lab bench environment. And on the right side, we have set up the virtual process, which includes all the simulation software, but also the models which will mimic the real process in real time. Yeah? It can also work standalone in such a way that it can be used as a soft sensor to the real plant. Now, how did we do this? What is the concept? So the process that we are talking about is a process which is quite fast. So in a few seconds, based on physical mixing processes, you have your end product that has been defined. Now, because we wanted to simulate and predict the behavior of the process, predict the critical quality attributes, we needed a way in order to make those kind of predictions. Now, we decided to apply computational fluid dynamics, CFD, in order to create all potential models, simulations for the behavior of the process. So what we have done is we have defined CFDs, varying all potential inputs, and like Niels has said, changing process parameters, temperature, flow rate combination, pressure, but also the quality of the API has an important impact and effect on the process. By doing that, we would then have simulation files in order to be able to simulate the process. Now, as CFD requires a lot of engine power and has to be run on an HPC process, high performance computing environment, we know that running 1.5 seconds of this process takes about 16 hours of calculation power. So impossible for us to do this online. So what we have done is we have made offline these simulations, used an AI in order to make all those kind of potential predictions. It's like making a lookup table with all potential inputs that gives me all critical quality attribute predictions based on the models. Those simulation files have then be fitted with real tests, experiments that have been done into the laboratory in order to make sure that we have a consistent approach. Once we have defined that, we have our, let's say, data science model, and we can apply this also in the virtual way. So how does this run now? Once you start running the process, live data, meaning my values of my temperature, my flow rate, are all monitored in the virtual process, and immediately my data science model provides me the output of the critical quality attribute. So instead of measuring it, I will predict what the actual CQA would be for that process based on my machine learning knowledge. Of course, but because it is machine learning, I cannot go outside my boundaries, and the system has learned itself based on the data it has been collected. But in this way, I would in real time be able to monitor the process by doing some virtual predictions. Together with that, we are also using a DLS instrument in order to define, for this case, PSD, particle size distribution, is an important critical quality attribute for our final product. So we are measuring on two ways. First of all, the DLS as a PAT sensor to predict the particle size. And secondly, the model, which is also predicting the particle size of our critical quality attributes. And in this way, we have a kind of backup system, one with the other one. The good thing is that as well, the virtual process and the real process are closely integrated and have a reason for existence. And one of the big benefits that we and our customer also sees is this process is that we can reduce substantially the number of physical experiments that needs to be done into the laboratory, as we can replace them with real virtual experiments. And we can also go a step further. One of the objectives that we want to achieve in the next months is also to apply an automated design of experiments, an automated virtual design of experiments, really in order to make sure that we can improve our models. And based on the fact that these systems are integrated, all data that I'm collecting in the physical process will be used to enrich my model, but also to continuously fit my model. And once my model is, according to my understanding, a well-performed model, I can then use them as a data science model in my process. So that is the overall concept in order to jointly work on a virtual and physical process. Now, what does this include? It includes, of course, that we need to apply different capabilities. So we brought in this use case, which is today not a use case anymore, it is real world, and it goes beyond fiction, it goes now towards reality, is we are combining different capabilities portfolios together. We are combining simulation software to simulate the product and the production based on physical and chemical models that are fitted also with data that is collected during my automation process. So also I'm combining, integrating the simulation capabilities with the automation capabilities. And of course, I would like to monitor the process in real time by applying a continuous verification process, by applying embedded or integrated analytic tools like process analytical measurement techniques, particle size, near infrared, even chromatography, and so on. So by embedding all these different technologies, we are able, together with Atos, defining also the capabilities in terms of machine learning, data analytics, and so on, we were able in this case to build a digital process screen for a specific process at our customer. And Niels, I think you can give us some more information on that joint approach.
Thank you very much, Patrick, and thank you for sharing. So really by combining, as I said in the beginning, the knowledge of the clients about their products and their processes, and then the Siemens knowledge around the equipment, around the process as well, and the Siemens software and the Siemens solutions is together with the knowledge of Atos around IoT, implementation of IoT, analytics models, AI models, and our HPC, so our high performance computing capabilities, we were able to find a way to solve this challenge simply by creating a real digital twin of a real process happening in real time, and then closing the feedback loop, moving the information back to the R&D side. Now, this means that we were able to solve this dual challenge that we got in the beginning, but we actually also created a dual role for the digital twin. Not only did we solve the challenge, reducing the R&D cycle, reducing the insufficient quality of the process, and thereby creating the ability to produce more vaccines in the same time, and that with less raw materials, thereby also decreasing waste. We were also able to increase situation awareness. So we made sure that people were more aware about what was happening around them, and thereby also impacting other part of the processes, simply by having the system here trigger different alarms, and thereby increasing the awareness of the situation. This also brought the additional benefit with it that we now had a solution who also provided additional information to make better decisions moving forward, and better business decisions, really helping to trigger the appropriate responses to different kind of situation appearing either in the R&D or in the actual production area. Now, to conclude here, we have been able to develop the first generation process digital twin for actual physical process, and that for a leading vaccine producer globally. We have been able thereby to solve the dual challenge that I talked about in the beginning. So we increased the guaranteed product quality. We reduced the raw material waste by 20%, and we believe that we can push a faster time to market by the combination of a reduced R&D cycle combined with that we can produce more vaccines in the same time frame with up to 50%. Currently, we are not at 50%. We are around 25% here on a faster time to market. But our belief is that we really moving into this part here and this solution here, and by having the model to learn more, we will be able to reach the 50% mark within a short time frame. However, there's also some different benefits coming actually on top here. So by impacting positively the production process, we actually also able to reduce the energy that are used and consumed here, which helps decarbonization for our clients. And last but not least, we of course also hope that this solution here maybe can help overcome the current situation that we all are in around the COVID-19 situation, where we are really searching for vaccines and need a fast way to produce vaccines to our population in Europe and in the world. So thank you for listening here, and Dimitri, over to you for any questions.
There are no questions at the moment, so guys on the call, so if you want to post any questions, we'll be happy to answer them. It seems as if there's no questions at the moment, Niels.
Okay, seems that we have explained it very well.
It's probably worth noting that there are a couple of handouts as well, which are readily available for you to download for the audience. It's in a handouts box. So you will see the Atos HLS Digital Twin for Pharma PDF brochure, and also you can download the MP4 video, so you can watch it offline.
Oh, we have some questions coming in now, Dimitri.
Okay. Right, so questions from Dinesh Pasai. Does the sensors directly comes in contact with the product?
I think that's for you, Patrick.
In terms of the API which we are measuring, the API is indeed measured via an NIR, near infrared instrument, and so here is in direct contact with the final product.
Okay. Another question from Sebastian Gerbholz. How about to replicate the project expertise to digital hospital twin or other healthcare industries?
I can take that one if okay. So that is of course possible for sure. The underlying architecture under the solution here is based on something that we call pre-integrated IoT, which is really packaging the whole IoT part with our partner ecosystem together with analytics and AI models. And of course, access to all kinds of different surrounding systems, including devices and production equipment. So that means that we can easily replicate the solution. We, of course, will need to remodel the twin so it fits with the actual need of the specific client. But we have seen with other projects that are using the same kind of approach that we can replicate extremely fast, so that we're looking here at time frames which are 50 to 40% and all the way up to 65% faster than with any kind of normal approach. So the answer here in short, yes.
Okay, thank you. Next question from Juan Luis Torres Otera. Our devices are ATEX. Patrick, did you want to answer that question?
I don't have the information on that topic. My apologies. I can come back to you later on with the answer, but I need to check internally.
Okay, thanks very much. Next question from Nino Gigoashvili. Is this solution currently used in the development of vaccines against SARS-CoV-2?
I will take this up. So in our customer, no, this solution today is not used for the SARS-CoV-2 application. But the expectation is that the concept is a trend-setting concept in order to be used for future development of vaccine products or changes of existing vaccines.
Okay, thanks very much. So next question from Sebastian Gerbholz. Do you have a last slide showing your full names and contact details?
We will make sure of that, Sebastian.
And Niels, maybe you can push one slide, slide 11, so the details will be shown on the slides.
Yeah, I will do so.
Okay. And I think
we have one more from Jean-Louis Torres Otero.
Oh, yes. One more questions about, so petrochemical customer is asking about the ATEX devices. So I think as Patrick said, we'll get back to you, Juan Luis.
Yeah. So what I can say here that we are working with other chemical companies where we are looking into replicating the, let's say, exact same approach, which we currently foresee is very doable.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions from anybody?
Okay, Minu. Oh, thanks. You're welcome.
Okay, if there are no more questions coming from the audience, I guess we can close this call. Thanks very much for everyone for participating, and thank you, Niels and Patrick, for presenting the slides and explaining this particular use case. Thanks very much.
You're welcome.